What is up, fellow bench warmers? Welcome to Fantasy Bench Warmers. My name is JJT with our Commish Eric. Welcome back, Commish. It's
I
last week we did our first episode for season 4, and we thought it's going to be quite a memorable week, but it turned out to be the opposite, as no news yet on the biggest domino.
I guess that's the reason why there's no news yet, because the biggest domino, as you said, Kevin Durant. There's still
I think
no trade.
there are two pieces everyone's trying to wait for, and that's Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Uh,
expecting Kyrie to be moved. There have been lots of rumors, lots of news. Although I think Shams or one of the reporters said that there's really no traction between any teams for any Kyrie trade.
right now, if Kyrie's gonna be traded before the season, it's gonna be the Lakers, and Kyrie wants to go to the Lakers. He's already said that if you're gonna trade for me, it's gonna be a rental. Because he's already saying that he will go to LA after his contract is up or whatever. So, typical Kyrie. So it's really just the Lakers. And the Lakers can only offer Russell Westbrook, which, of
Which no one
course,
wanted to.
yeah. So there's
they're,
that.
they're pretty much trading two unwanted players.
Yes. Well, but Kyrie is still a little bit, even with all the craziness, is still the better player, and younger, and cheaper by $11 million. So so Brooklyn has all the, in a way, the
Leverage.
Lakers are the ones that has to pay, that has to give up other assets to get Kyrie. Right now, there's some traction because I think they're trying to bring San Antonio into the
Into
mix to
the
make it a
deal.
three team trade, and I think that would give Potel to Brooklyn, because of course nobody wants Westbrook, so they rather have Potel and I think Doug McDermott or whatever, and other players that the Lakers would give, like maybe Taylor Horton Tucker or whoever, and then just dump Westbrook to San Antonio, since San Antonio is tanking. They'll probably just you know uh buy out Westbrook. Maybe that's the plan, but we don't know. We don't. There's a little traction there, but still far from being resolved.
Yeah, so it looks like this could drag on for a few more weeks.
Yeah.
But let's see. But since we last recorded, there were still some moves that might be fantasy relevant, or that might really interest our managers or fantasy managers. The biggest one, particularly, trade between the Jazz and the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's Rudy Gobert. That's the biggest trade. I think this is the biggest one, next to probably a bigger trade than the DeJounte Murray trade, because
No, this is bigger. This
yeah,
is
this is bigger considering that Gobert earns more and he's a more established star, I guess. So Rudy Gobert to the Jazz for Patrick Beverly, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, and some picks. Of course, we'll talk about Gobert and the three players that the Wolves traded to the Jazz were very fantasy relevant last season. Vanderbilt, Pat Bev, and to some extent Malik Beasley in some parts of the season. But let's talk about Gobert first. Do you like this trade? I mean, for Gobert's fantasy value, Gobert's fantasy value in the regular season is very stable. I think the only problem with Gobert is the playoffs.
um. I will not say that it would hurt him that much. I know he's gonna play with Cat and everything, so there would be some overlap. But I would just say that between Cat and Gobert, maybe Gobert gets the lesser hit, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe they would be trying to put Cat in the perimeter more.
Yeah, stretch
Uh,
four maybe.
yeah, so I think Gobert's blocks, rebounds, that's where his value is, anyways, would still be there. So the lesser turnovers, of course, with so many ball handlers there. His
Yeah.
field goal should be very high because he won't be taking a lot of shots. He should not be taking outside shots or anything.
Yeah.
So overall, I think he should still be where he is. Maybe a little lower. Maybe the rebounds get a little bit lower, but overall, I think he should be fine. So I think he's okay.
Is he fine for what last year he was what a late second round maybe,
Yeah, I
or
think he
I
was
think
higher.
it was higher than that, maybe a mid
Yeah, he was
to
higher.
early second round, depending on the managers or the build of your team that you're trying to make. So you think he should be safe right there?
Late second, I think he should be safe. Late second should be 22, 23, 24, 25, around those.
That's you feel is that safe or a value pick already for Gobert?
No, that's not a value pick for Gobert this year. Of course, as we said, there's a lot more risk. He's in a deeper team, and there's Cat.
Yeah.
So that's not a safe. That's not a value. But safe, yeah. I guess you won't. Even if he doesn't reach that, might not be that far off.
Uh-huh.
So not value anymore.
All right. So now let's move on to Cat, because I know this, like you said, this would affect Cat. By a lot. I really,
I don't
like
know.
you said it. This they might play Cat more on the outside, which is really not that enticing.
I want to hear what you feel first, because I've been thinking about this. I've been going back and forth. So
I'm not a very big Cat fan when it comes to fantasy. I had him in some teams. He was okay. I think he takes a hit. Here. If he becomes a stretch for more threes, that means lower field goal. I mean, logically that would happen, and then less free throws for him. I don't think he'll do a lot of back to the basket plays, like a post up play, because Gobert is going to be there. I'm not sure if they can work something out with those two, but yeah, a little maybe late first round. I'm still not convinced. Late first round would be nice for Cat.
Where would you have drafted him if Gobert did not come, or Gobert wasn't traded? I think that's a good question to ask first, right? So, would you have been top 5 for you?
Maybe mid, yeah. 5,
Yeah.
Definitely not top 4. Maybe 5 to the 8 range. 5 to 8, 5 to 9 if he drops. And then of course Gobert. If Gobert stays with the Jazz, he'll be higher, of course, than where he is right now. Where we're expecting him to be.
I think for me, yeah, I agree. There would be some problems with rebounds. I think he's not been a great rebounder, really. I mean, he's solid, but not 20, 15, 16. So now probably gonna be 8, 9, 10, something like that. So the rebounds will get a hit. The blocks will certainly get a hit. So those are big. But the 3-pointers, the field goal will go down. The 3-pointers, the increase in 3 points, I think would be substantial. I think what Minnesota might be doing will be staggering some of their minutes also. So there would always be a Cat or a Gobert on the court. I think that would be what will happen. So overall, I would still pick him in the first round. I would still pick him in the first round. And that is also because of the other things that are happening in the league. The injuries, the trades also, like the Jonte and Trey getting together, going together. So I still believe that Cat is better than Trey. Cat is better than Beal.
Safer, I guess. Safer,
I think, is better also for me. Beal, Paul George, these guys who are maybe in the late.
But the real worry I have with Cat now would be him shooting more threes than usual, and we've seen signs of this year, right? Winning the 3-point shootout, right?
Point shootout.
Yeah, okay. And he's declared that he's the best 3-point shooting big. Yeah. And throughout the season, he's been shooting a lot more threes, staying there a lot more. And now he'll probably have even more opportunities to shoot threes. And that worries me because, you're a big guy and I'm not really a big fan unless you're a real good shooter, like maybe a Dirk or Jokic.
I
But
I actually was gonna ask you that. Dirk played that way, and Cat maybe that's the peg. Put Cat in the Dirk peg. He's the power forward who plays perimeter. I think Cat can do it. So Dirk was a first rounder even as a perimeter guy, and yeah, he's not as great a shooter as Dirk, but Dirk is not as great a defensive player as Cat. I mean,
true.
defense
And not even a great rebounder or
the defense stats, which is rebounds, block, steal. So I think it will even out. I think he's a first rounder. I still think he's a first rounder, but again, not value, not safe.
Yeah.
It's just where I would probably pick him. I think it's just right around 10, 11, 12, maybe around the late first round area.
Yeah, plus like we said, there's really, if you think about it, there's really not much options. Not many players who moved up from the second round level to the first round. Maybe the LaMelo would be there. DeJounte was supposed to be there, but now you're going to be thinking twice about picking DeJounte in the first round, right? So there are not really a lot of players who moved up. In fact, there might be a lot of players moving down from the first round, and that gives Cat a push up because I'm pretty sure Harden might move down a bit.
AD or Cat?
Huh?
AD or Cat?
Cat. Come on, guys. We've learned our lesson with AD for what, 2 years, 3 years?
But if Embiid joins the Wolves and makes it a three center rotation, AD or Cat?
It's so hard to pick Cat now. Yeah, but last year we thought Cat was a good, nice. I mean, AD was a good value pick at the late first round, but in the end, it didn't even pan out. I mean, he started well, but the injuries really hurt him.
It's gonna surprise you this year. So you see his workouts.
We said that last year.
I'm just joking. I'm not saying you pick AD over Cat. I'm not gonna pick AD. I'm just joking about that. But regarding this trade, there are other winners actually.
Yeah, but let's talk about the other side of it. Pat Bev, Vanderbilt. I think Pat Bev and Vanderbilt were the two guys who had significant fantasy value last year to the Jazz now. So where does this put them?
But Pat was gonna be bought out. They reported that he's gonna be bought out by the Jazz. So I think we can't talk about him because we don't know.
Let's skip Pat Bev because he might be changing teams. How about Vanderbilt and Beasley?
I like Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt in Utah. They lost Royce O'Neal, right? So they probably put Bojan at the small forward, maybe. Yeah. Vanderbilt at power forward. There's no power forward in Utah anyways. So
who's the center at Utah?
Nobody also. Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler was the 22nd pick of Minnesota.
Yeah.
This year he was part of the trade. He's a first rounder, part of the trade. For people who don't know him, he's a white guy who can block. It doesn't. Well, basically, basically rebounds, blocks, still very raw offensively. I pity the guy because his grandfather played for Minnesota, and when during the press con, he said he's gonna wear this jersey, and then he showed a picture of his grandfather wearing the same Minnesota jersey, same number, and
now he's moved to the Jazz.
And then basically one day after, he was traded to Utah. But anyway, it's gonna fit in Utah very well. He might even start. He's not a guy who's a freshman. He has already played in college for quite a few years, I think. So Kessler is a guy I like. Could be a very deep league option. But Vanderbilt, I think the rebounds, the steals, everything that he's shown in Minnesota, he might get major minutes in Utah. So I love Vanderbilt there.
But Vanderbilt might also fall a bit in the drafts because he didn't perform as well later in the season, and of course, usually there's recency bias among the fantasy managers, right? Like players playing in the summer league might get some boost up towards the latter round. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But yeah, how about Malik Beasley?
Um, I
Specialist. Another specialist, I guess.
I don't pick players like that. Basically, the players that even if they get hot, any slump they will be dropped, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not interested in Beasley. Actually, I'm more interested in Jaden McDaniels, the guy that was left behind in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why Minnesota gave up 5 first-round picks, which is really unbelievable, is because they didn't want to include Jaden McDaniels. That was the only problem in their negotiations. Utah wanted Jaden, and Minnesota didn't want to give up Jaden. So you have to assume Jaden will start at small forward for Minnesota. And he's going to get, well, there's no Vanderbilt now. They traded Beasley. They traded a lot of players. So I think Jaden, if you're looking for a deep late round player to consider for just steals, blocks, threes, he's a guy that I'm actually thinking Jaden or Vanderbilt will be better next year. I don't know. I'm still debating.
I think Vanderbilt would have more secured minutes.
That's it, yeah.
Than Jaden.
But fantasy-wise, Jaden is better.
Yeah, because he has more. He has more to offer, right? He's pretty much Vanderbilt plus some scoring plus some offense, right? So he has more to offer. And Jaden played well towards the late in the season. He played better, actually, I think, over Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt was on the verge of being dropped, or was dropped in a lot of leagues late in the season because of his poor performance.
But early in the season, it was the opposite.
Yeah, it was the opposite. So yeah, this is what makes it interesting. But again, the minutes, I think Vanderbilt has the advantage there when it comes to the minutes. Let's talk about other. There's no. I don't think there was any significant trade, but there were some interesting signings that might be of interest to some of our managers. Thomas Bryant to the Lakers.
Interest to Laker fans like us.
Yeah. What's this? The most exciting signing of the Lakers so far.
Well, if you're a Laker fan who's grounded, you're not thinking the Lakers will win the championship. You just want them to be better, to be competitive. The signings of the Lakers this year, they're solid. They're solid.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we said the same thing about
Carmelo.
We said the same thing about them last year, so
no, we did not. No, we did
I mean,
not.
a lot of people pretty much said the same thing. Oh, this is a great signing. This is a great Kendrick Nunn is gonna save the Lakers. Kendrick Nunn didn't even play him in.
No. Kendrick Nunn is gonna save the Lakers just 1 year too late. This year, Kendrick Nunn will save the Lakers. He's gonna be their starting point guard. But Thomas Bryant, I hate in the fantasy sense because Damian Jones, I love.
Yeah.
And I think Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant will, of course, battle for that starting center spot. So, might be a timeshare. That might be. Would definitely be a timeshare. So, that would make Jones, I don't know.
Or, one of these guys could play the power forward. Thomas Bryant is actually a very undersized center, right? He's not really...
Beat AD that much, huh? You're not even considering AD anymore.
No, I mean, a backup power forward. I mean, yeah. I mean, one can start and then the other can come off the bench as a backup power forward.
Possibly, but I think they'll be time sharing because LeBron will probably play some 4 also. So, as of now, Thomas Bryant would not be a person I'm gonna draft. If it was Damian, I would draft Damian more than Thomas Bryant. But it's a solid signing for the Lakers.
Yeah, Damian probably a very late pick, a swing pick later in the drafts. Isaiah Roby to the Spurs could be interesting. I mean, Isaiah Roby has shown promise in Oklahoma. Actually, I was actually surprised they cut him loose, but I think they had to make way for some new guys there. So
OKC,
Roby to the Spurs.
OKC, I think, has around 16, 17 contracts already. So they had to waive someone. So Roby sadly was a guy waived. But yeah, I love it for Roby. If the Spurs trade does go through, they trade Potel,
Yeah.
Roby will be probably picked in the 120, 110 to 120 range. If that happens, I like Roby a lot. I really like his landing spot here in San Antonio. And even if Potel stays with the Spurs, I'll be monitoring Roby a lot, especially in the silly season time. The last week's time, he's gonna be a player might be unleashed.
Yeah.
By the,
What's good about the Spurs now is that unlike last season, they were you really didn't know if they were tanking or they were rebuilding or what. This season, I think it's clear that they're in a rebuilding phase, and I don't
yes,
think they're gonna really try to contend. Uh, but given that their coach is still Popovich, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But at least I'm pretty sure that they're gonna give some young guys some opportunities here
yes,
to play. So and
yes.
Roby would be that. So we'll have to keep an eye on the total front to see what happens there. TJ Warren, who's been out for a year and a half, what 2 years?
Around that time, yes, the bubble was probably the last time
Yeah,
we saw him.
that's 2 seasons ago, right?
Was that 2 seasons ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2 seasons ago. Seems
Uh,
like it.
so TJ Warren was signed by the Brooklyn Nets. Um,
Uh, I don't know. It's hard because we don't know what the Brooklyn Nets will look like. I don't know if KD will be traded. I think the Nets want more picks than what Utah got for Gobert.
for
They,
sure. I mean,
but no one will give them that. And that's the problem. I mean, if they settle for only 4 or 5 picks, they'll be laughed at. They say Gobert got this and you also got this, but nobody will give more than what Utah got, 5 picks. So that's the problem. And then TJ Warren, Royce O'Neal, Brooklyn is making moves as if KD will stay. I mean, that's how I see it. And there's a possibility KD will stay with Brooklyn by the start of the season. That's always a possibility.
yeah.
So given all those uncertainties, and actually even if KD leaves, I'm not really that high on TJ given he's out for 2 years. Rather just see him play first
Yeah.
before wasting a pick on him.
Now this guy might be a low key pickup for the Warriors to replace some of the key championship guys that left their team, namely Gary Payton, Juan Toscano, and I think Damian Lee. I think has also moved on from the Warriors. So Dante DiVincenzo from the Sacramento Kings has now signed with the Warriors.
There was a little debate in our chat about Dante and Gary Payton. How about you? What was your take on that? Who do you like
I think
more?
Dante is a more well-rounded player.
Okay.
Has better offense, I guess, than Gary Payton. Defensively, I think Payton might be better, but I don't think they're really too far off each other. I mean, fantasy-wise, though, Dante might be a better option.
You think?
Well, not with the Warriors, but if you just compare them individually, I think Dante has better upside.
Let's say for next season.
Next season, I think Gary Payton would have more upside here, given that Dante's with the Warriors.
But Payton is gonna be behind Dame and Simons also. So actually, the situation is kind of similar.
Yeah.
But I just fell in love with Payton's game. I don't know. The worry for me is I don't know if he can recreate that in a different system. I mean, the Warriors used him perfectly. The Warriors used him as the guy who gives Steph the roll guy, and defensively was disruptive. They played small. I don't know if Portland will do that, so that's my concern. But Dante or Gary Payton, I give Gary Payton the edge a little bit, but I understand what you guys are saying about Dante. He's a better player overall. And
Yeah.
to get him at $4 million a year, half of what Gary Payton got, is a steal for the Warriors. But I think he's gonna get a lot of minutes next year for the Warriors.
Yeah. Well, but is he draftable in a standard league.
I know. I won't draft him. I won't draft him in standard leagues. He's injury prone, number one. Number two, of course, there's Moses Moody. There's Kuminga. There's a lot of other players. But he's gonna get that bench role, but there's Jordan Poole there also. So lots of risks. And last year he came off an injury. He'll be better. I'll just put it this way: he'll be better than what he showed last year because last year he just came from injury, a major injury. So he was still trying to get himself back. So people saw him last year and they were like, this is terrible. But before that injury, he was actually
he was good. He was top 80 before that with the Bucks. So
but
before
the Warriors though. So
yeah, this is the Warriors and the role is not there yet for him. I mean, so we'll have to wait and see. Of course,
he'll be an in and out guy, an ad drop.
Yeah.
Ad drop.
I was just about to say he's gonna be serviceable for a few games, maybe when Clay or Steph rest some games, or maybe gets some minor injuries. But yeah, not really draftable. This guy though could be a hot commodity in the drafts. Jalen Smith, who re-signed with the Pacers, and there have been news as well that Miles Turner, rumors that Miles Turner could be traded. I forgot who's the other guy in return. For Ayton, yeah. So
for Ayton.
So Jalen Smith, he was good, and not just the good low level type of good. He was really good when he got minutes in Phoenix and he got minutes in Indiana. Really, per minute, he was really good.
I would already announce it here that I will be targeting a lot of Pacers next year. I see them as a team that I like the composition. Okay, number one. Number two, if Turner gets traded for Ayton or whatever, whoever goes back or starts, I like it. And they already announced that Jalen is their starting power forward in July. The contract of Jalen Smith is unbelievable. $15 million for 3 years, $5 million a year. That's so cheap. But that's still an investment. And they announcing that he's a starting power forward. They trust the guy.
Yeah.
And his fantasy skill set, 3-pointers, blocks, and everything. Yeah, he's another, aside from Roby, he's another guy that I'm putting in the watch list closely as we go into the season.
Yeah, but now the question is, because late last season, there were 2 guys or 3 guys, including Goga, who were really, rotating, or at least were hot in the radar of fantasy managers late last season. Jalen Smith was actually the most consistent one there, and most available one, meaning he played more games, I guess. The other guy who many players were high on was Isaiah Jackson, who is now coming in as a sophomore.
Yeah.
Where does Isaiah Jackson stand in all these? Is he gonna be a lesser? Does he gonna have a lesser role, or is he still going to be a hot commodity?
I think at the start of the season, his role might not be that big yet, but he will be part of the rotation, I think. Jalen, Isaiah Jackson, O'Shea Brissett actually is another player there that will get minutes.
Yeah, but O'Shea can play the 3, right? He's small enough to play the 3.
Goga is the wild card. I don't know what their plan is with Goga.
You have to stop, fantasizing about Goga. I don't think he's gonna stay too long.
But he's their first round pick, and they haven't decided what to do with him. So
he's their first round pick when?
2 years ago. He's incoming junior only. He's incoming third year. So Goga's not that well. He looks old, but he's
but he's not
for the Pacers. So we don't know where he fits, Goga. I know they like Isaiah Jackson, but they're developing him slowly. There's plans for him. I don't know about Goga. That's my concern. But I think Jalen and Isaiah Jackson will probably be the guys alternating at power forward. And then maybe Goga backs up either Miles or Ayton. Probably that's what they'll do. And O'Shea goes to the small forward position. So there's minutes there. There are going to be minutes there. Isaiah Jackson will be intriguing also.
But you like Jalen over Isaiah?
yeah, if it's true that Jalen will start, if what
Yeah.
they said now is really correct. I mean, maybe when training camp starts, they'll decide to suddenly say that it's up for grabs. We don't know who's gonna start at power forward, and maybe that changes.
Yeah.
But right now, I think Jackson is very raw. Still lots of long ways to go. So maybe they'll start Jalen and then put, I say slowly, start slowly develop him. So I like Jalen over Isaiah as of now.
And of course, there could be a lot of moves still
Yeah.
On the way. We're still very early, so we'll probably have a better idea or a clearer picture once we talk about the depth chart of every team towards the start of the season. Now, I want to talk quickly about two players that might be interesting. Two first round top players. One took a pay cut. One was just extended just a few minutes ago. These are interesting for me because these are first round picks, and usually these are players managers build their team around with. And last year they underperformed. Well, James Harden didn't really underperform a lot, but somehow underperformed as well. James Harden in Philly took a 15 million pay cut to put some more pieces around him and Joel Embiid. And then of course Damian Lillard, who was probably the biggest disappointment last year because of the injury. Now signing a 120 million extension. Now let's talk about fantasy. Lillard. Let's talk about Lillard first. How do you value Lillard now, coming off an injury? Do we see him as a Lillard of old? Where do you and given that there's really not a lot of, like we said earlier, there's not a lot of players who's moving up to that first round level.
It's tough, right?
I know.
Last year.
What?
Did you have Lillard last year?
No. No, I didn't.
So you're not.
I'm sure you had a lot of Lillard.
Yeah, that he really ruined my fantasy last season, and it's tough if you're a fantasy manager. Of course, there's the emotional trauma, the hurt, the pain. But if you look at objectively, I watched the interviews with him. He said he's very, very healthy. He's been playing with it for 4 years. I think some like Josh Lloyd talked about it, that he's been dealing with it. So he was able to fix it. Logically, if he was able to fix something that he's been dealing with for 4 years, he should be better, right? He said he's like, because everything is new, he's already built up his body again from scratch.
Yeah,
so that's good. And again, I think Jeremy Grant coming to Portland and everything, they'll try to contend. Even if I don't think they will, but I think they will try. Yeah. So I would pick him in the first round. Yeah. Even
mid first round, late first round.
Late first round. I think he will last until the late first round because of what happened last year. So if he's there at 12, 13, 14, I'll happily take him. I'll happily take him at 13 and 14, given all the uncertainties. As we said, I enumerated the sure first rounders. I was only until 7 or 8. Maybe add LaMelo, maybe 9, and then Cat fell off. So maybe 8 or 9. So after that, it's uncertain. So
there are a lot of players in that range. Dame Lillard. I'll just squeeze in a bit. Bradley Beal, who also kind of underperformed last year. Yeah. Another disappointment. So you still think Beal gets into that late first round?
Yes. Beal
over Lillard or Lillard?
No, I'll go Lillard. I'll go Lillard over Beal, but the concerns are the same. Injuries. The injuries will be the concern. Beal, has he finished a season? The past few weeks?
I think 2 years ago he did.
Yeah, but he's always had something. So the hope is that they ended their seasons early. So maybe they will be fresher for the season. So Beal, Lillard, Paul George, maybe you might be thinking of Paul George.
So. Yeah, another guy, and we still don't know where we would consider Kawhi in the picture. Maybe we'll talk about that as we talk about the depth chart later on. Now let's move on to James Harden, who took a pay cut. And with that, looks like he's going to be serious about winning. But again, the concerns of him, we haven't really seen a good James Harden with Joel Embiid. I think we've had that a few games early on last season, but overall, I don't think we've seen the James Harden. I'm not even sure if he's gonna get back to that level, the top 3, top 2 type of James Harden.
No, he's past that. I mean, how old is he? 30, 32, 33 maybe?
Yeah, somewhere.
He's past his prime. It's obvious. The first step is gone, and then he's not getting the fouls that he's been getting before. And you brought up a good point. We've not seen James Harden and Embiid in a good, I mean, good match. You know, in a good match situation. They've been not that good yet.
Fantasy-wise, we're talking about fantasy-wise. Like, we don't see James Harden, scoring as much, giving a lot of assists, rebounding. The triple-double James Harden that we usually see comes very rare these days.
But the having said that, I think the 80%, 70% of Harden from his peak level is still first round. And in regards to the Embiid situation, if you look at it, they'll figure it out. And I don't have any concerns at all during the regular season. Maybe the playoffs, the defense adjusts or anything, but regular season, they could just easily just say, "Oh, Embiid, you get this play, I'll get this play." They can just alternate, and they'll still produce fantasy stats, fantasy value. So, I think Harden will still be a first rounder for sure. I mean, unless he gets injured, he'll be a first rounder, but not the Harden of before. That's the thing, not the Harden of before.
All right, going back full circle, do you get Harden first or Cat?
Right now, maybe Harden.
So you have higher, you trust Harden more.
Yes. As of now, I'm thinking about it. I think, don't you think Harden can get 25 points next year?
Well, I think you're right. Other than that, I think we've seen more of Harden and Embiid together than Gobert, Cat together.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the uncertainty lies with Karl Anthony Towns. But yeah, I think Harden's the safer pick. But still, do you pick him top 5?
Harden top 5. It's tough, but as of now, he's there. I won't say I will pick him in top 5. I'll consider him there. Right now, I only have Jokic, Giannis, maybe Embiid as my sure top 5. So, well, Steph, we know our love-hate relationship with Steph. So,
and I think very interesting here would be where KD lands as well, because I don't think KD's had this reputation that he's injury prone, but he has been really good when he's playing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to even if he stays in Brooklyn. I wouldn't be surprised if he squeezes himself there in the top 5, top 6 pick.
You know what's funny? I actually picked Luka in the top 5 this year. I'll do.
Surprising.
I don't care if he doesn't reach top 5 value. I'll just feel safer. I'll be able to sleep at night more if I just pick Luka. I'm sure. I'm sure that will be there.
Is that recency bias given how Luka's been playing?
No.
Or played during the playoffs?
No, not about the playoffs. It's just look at the players under consideration.
You're right. There's a lot of uncertainty there.
I mean,
even Steph, there could be uncertainty with Steph. Coming off a championship run. He could be missing a lot more games.
Steph, KD, Kat. I mean, I don't know. Even Tatum, if it's Luka and Tatum, I'll probably go Luka. Especially if Brunson is out now. He's not with the team. So yeah. I think Harden might be there. Might be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Could be in the top 5.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, that's it. That's a quick run. I'm not sure if that was even quick, but at least we run through some of the significant players in the free agency, and of course some re-signing. Of course, the fantasy landscape is slowly changing, and there could be some changing of the guards. Like we said, this year could be a year wherein we would see other players emerge as well. So let's see. It's very interesting fantasy season. All right, that's it for this episode. Next episode, we'll talk about some rookies who've been performing in the summer league. So watch out for that as well. Right, guys, we'll see you again next episode. Bye.